Yesterday, the president was in Ohio to talk about the good news still rolling in on tax reform. Just over this past week, companies like UPS, Lowe's, Cigna, Thermo Fisher Scientific, and Best Buy announced bonuses. They announced pay raises. They announced additional benefits for their employees. Right now, thanks to tax reform, companies have announced more than $2.5 billion in bonuses and $179.5 billion in new investments in this country already. More than 4.3 million workers have benefited. And of course, as a result of tax reform, the average family of four will save more than $2,000 this year. Tax reform is working. And there have been significant economic gains. U.S. employers added 200,000 jobs in January, with wages growing at the biggest rate in 8 years. Unemployment is at a 17-year low. And tax cuts are only going to help raise wages and create more good jobs. Finally, as was mentioned by the majority leader and others, we are voting on yet another continuing resolution this week. I will remind you that the only reason we do not have a full budget agreement is because Democrats continue to hold funding for our government hostage on an unrelated issue. They must stop using our troops as pawns in a game of politics. And that's why the House will send the Senate a bill to fully fund our military for this year while we keep working toward a budget agreement. I urge the Senate Democrats to stop their filibuster and provide our men and women in uniform the resources that they need, the support that they need. Quite literally, the safety of our service members and the security of our country is at stake. Does anyone have any questions? Christina. Yeah. Yeah, right. No, we've been very clear about this. We will take a bill that the president supports. So we look, put it this way. President Trump made a very serious and sincere offer of goodwill with the reforms that he sent to the Hill. That is what we should be working off of. Those are the bipartisan negotiations that the majority leader is conducting on our behalf. So we're not going to bring immigration legislation through that the president doesn't support. We're working on something here in the House. We're working on bipartisan negotiations. It's going to be a bill that we support that the president supports. Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, Lisa from PBS NewsHour. Democrats say they do want to fund defense.
Great. We're going to give them an opportunity today. I think that's wonderful.
But do you not give any credence to their argument that non-defense should also receive an increase?
We have been trying to get a budget cap agreement for 6 months. And I would argue strongly that the reason we do not have a budget cap agreement which affects these issues is because they're holding government funding, particularly funding for a military hostage, on completely unrelated items that have nothing to do with funding the government. Casey.
Would you urge the president to declassify the minority memo?
Well, again, it's all about sources and methods. So we look, you know what's kind of ironic about this issue is the Republicans on the HPSC committee, the Intelligence Committee, voted to declassify their memo and the Democrats' memo. The Democrats voted against declassifying the Republican memo, but not their memo. So I think what you see here is Republicans are for letting all of this information out there, provided that we scrub for sources and methods. The Republican memo was written to make sure that sources and methods were not compromised so that full disclosure could occur. We do not now know whether that's the case with the Democrat memo. It has to go through that scrubbing process. Here's what I would like to encourage all of you. You're the press. You're the avatars of the First Amendment, protecting a critical component of our civil liberties. FISA abuse matters to each and every one of us as citizens. And if our government abused the FISA process, a very unique selective process, which if mishandled could complicate and compromise in American civil liberties, we should care about that. So this is about making sure that our civil liberties as citizens are protected in the FISA court and that it is not politicized. Manu.
Last week, you made the case that the memo, the Nunes memo, was separate from the Mueller investigation.
I continue to say that.
Yet over the weekend, the president claimed, quote, total vindication from the Nunes
Look,
memo. Was he vindicated in any way?
Let me go back to what I just said. This is about FISA abuse, and this is about holding our government accountable, and this is about Congress doing its job and conducting oversight over the executive branch, which in this particular case has been given great power over us as citizens. We need to make sure that that power is used correctly. Thank you.